Hi, this is a video about a count error that I have seen that has been plaguing people running Windows 10 for roughly about 4 years. So this is the version that I'm running on this machine, and it's a 1703 OS build 15063.632, and it's a Windows Home Edition. Now this was bought with Windows 10 installed, and I do believe that it had an option to go between Windows 7 or Windows 10, but as far as I've had it, it's always been Windows 10, and it's done an upgrade from 1603 I think it was to now 1703. So I don't know when the issue happened, but it's basically a corruption in the account. So how does it manifest itself? I'm logged on as a domain user at the moment, and you would only see this when you create a new account. So how would you create a new account from a domain? You'd go into accounts, and this is a camera pointed at a monitor or a TV, and so sorry about the sound and so forth, my apologies for that, but I'm going to be logging off and logging back on, and I wasn't too sure what screen capture software I should be using, so yeah. Okay, so I'd go into accounts and change account settings as an administrator, family and other people, and usually you would just add accounts here. I've got some accounts which are ready to go. These accounts, and I'll just show you this page, it may not be that clear or really that important to be honest with you, but I'll do it anyway just for completeness. This is the users area, and this is where the accounts usually sit once they're created, and you can see that there is no new account there. This is the default profile, which is the template that's used to build these accounts. So just so you can see that, so hopefully that comes across quite clearly. So the first thing I'm going to do is this account is, so I'm going to start off with this account, and it's a standard user, nothing special about this particular account. I've just created this account. So let's log off. Well, I won't log off, I'm just going to go to this new account. So it gives me the option to then log in, and I type in the password, and it starts to go in, and it's just dropped out again. Okay, so let's have another go. So and it's just signed me straight out as soon as I try to log in. So something is wrong with that account. So let's go back into my demo admin account and see if there's anything we can do from here. So if I go back into my account settings, and what I'm going to do is elevate this account to an administrator. This is not something you really want to do, but in this particular case this is what you might be inclined to do. So it's just really so you can see what's actually happening here, and so if you see something like this, you have a clue of what's happened. So again, I'm going to log out here. We're not going to log out, sorry, we're just going to change user. I'm going to go into the new account, and so we're logging in, and it's going through its copy across process. Something more is happening than did before. We seem to have the welcome screen on for longer, so hopefully we're going to see some progress. So effectively what's happened is there's something wrong with the way the account's being created, and here we are, we're logged in as that particular user. So all I've done is I've elevated the user account, and if I go into this, I click on it, nothing happens, this is where Cortana usually sits, nothing happens. If I right click it, I get these windows, and if I try and launch PowerShell, it comes up saying there's no environmental variables, or it can't find this particular directory, which is basically dependent on that environmental variable. Now I know what this issue is, and it's essentially the environmental variables are missing. So I'm going to right click on that, and just so you can see this. So if this is logged in as an administrator, so if I open up Control Panel, and I want to go to System and Security, then System, and Advanced Settings, Environmental Variables, and the user variables for a new account, there's no variables, and I know that this should be populated as standard. So that's the first thing that's wrong. So what I'm going to do, or at least what's happening here, is down here we've got the system variables, and usually what you would see up here is there's a path to the temp folders. There's TMP, and this is going to Windows temp here, and this is a protected area, which means that the security will only allow administrators into that area, and this is probably why it only works as an administrator and not as a standard user. So we'll need to correct that. So let's leave this. In fact, we don't really need to leave it. I don't need to log out. Well, in fact, I will log out, because that's probably more logical. I can't log out normally, so I'm just going to do Control-Alt-Delete, and that gives me an option to sign out. So I'm going to sign out. And I'm going to log back in with my demo admin account. So demo admin. So just quickly, I'm going to go open up Control Panel, go into System and Security, System, Advanced Settings, Environmental Variables, and you can see these are the variables on my administrator account. So where are those held? Well, I'm going to go into the registry, and I'm going to make a copy of those. So let's just reduce all of these things and open up the registry. Regedit. The registry is quite a complicated area, so this is me sort of moving around this previously. So this isn't important to us right at this moment in time, but I've got my current user, which is a logged on user, which is my demo admin account, and this here, this particular key, is where the environment variables sit. So I'm going to export that key, and I'm going to use that to import into the other user. So I'm going to export that into a location which is shared. So what I want to do, I'll go on to Run Desk. I want to create an account, reg info, and I want to call that, this is going to be hkey current user, and we'll call that m. So I'm going to call that environment virus, and I'm going to save that as a registry file. So save into that location, and I'm going to import that particular information. So let's go back to that particular user. I shouldn't have logged off really. So let's go into new account, log back in. You can have a lot of trouble going into the registry. It's a very dangerous place. The registry is like a conjugation of all the files that are necessary for your system to run, including your computer. Mucking it up could permanently muck up your system, so much so that you need to do a full reinstall. So be careful around this, and I'm just showing this to you more for what you're going to see. So let's go into this. So there's my reg info that I've got and shared, and that's the registry information. So I'm going to import that. So it's saying, do you want to import? Yes, I do. Okay, so they're imported. So if I go to control, let's see if they're there. So run, control, system and security, system, advanced system settings, environmental variables. There they are. That's good. Okay, so I'm going to now, again, I'm going to, well, I've got the environmental variables in there, but these things don't work. And if I log off and log back on, they still won't work. And it's still asking for a missing variable, which clearly this doesn't contain. This is just the temp information. So let's go back and deal with part of the first thing, which is this is an elevated user. We don't want to have an elevated user. So we're going to have to log off. So Control-Alt-Delete again, and I'm going to sign out. And then I'm going to sign back in to my admin account. I'm going to go back into the user. I'm going to change the account settings. I'm going to family and other people. There's my account, which is an administrator, and I want to change it to an ordinary user, standard user. OK. So that account is no longer in, sort of a privilege that will allow you to cause all manner of potential issues with malware and so forth. And so anyway, let's address the other issue, which is that the app data environmental variable seems to also be missing. And I can find that. So HKey current user, that's me logged on at the moment as administrator, the demo admin. And so where are we going to find that key? Well, under software, Microsoft, as you can see I've already been here, current Windows, current version, Explorer, and we have user shell folders. That's the key that contains all these things like app data, local app data. So I want to export that. Then I'm going to export it to the same place. So HKey current user. The name isn't really that important, but it's a good idea to have a name that is memorable to some extent. And I'll call it user shell folder. So that's going to be saved into that same location. So as I said, I've demoted the so I'm going to shut the registry. I don't really need that open at this moment in time, and I'm going to go and log back in as this particular user, the user account. And so let's try and type that in again. So logging in, this is now a standard user, and so I'm a standard user. these things don't work at the moment. I can right click on it, it seems to work, but nothing seems to come up, as I said before. And so let's right click on that, File Explorer, we'll go to that shared location, and this time I want to put in the shell folder information. So just before I do that, I'm going to launch regedit so that you can see that the location does not exist. So HKey, current user, software, Microsoft, Windows, current version, Explorer, and there we should have a user shell folders. I don't have a user shell folders, so I've got shell folders but no user shell folders. It's got user assist. So let's double click on this. It's saying, do you want to import? Yes, I do, and it says it's been imported successfully. And if I look back at this, I now have user shell folders. You can see these registry entries are now there. This still doesn't work. So what we need to do is to log off. Control-Alt-Delete again to sign out. So back into this account. And you'll see that it's slightly changed, and if I click on that it brings up this window and Cortana now works. So that's kind of cured those particular issues, and that was entirely due to missing environmental variables which were stopping this from working properly. It only happens when you create a new account, and it's basically due to a broken default profile. So what I'm going to do in the next video is show you how to do this via the command line, and after that, sorry, it's doing all its initial stuff, so like it's a brand new account, so I don't want that to run. So let's go back and we'll log off, and we'll go back in as, so I can now sign out properly as I would have done with this particular account. So the account appears to be working normally, but it's not entirely, because there's something else wrong with it, and hopefully I will address that in future videos, although I'm not entirely 100% sure of what the problem is myself at this time. So, but I can see that this has been plaguing people for about 2 years, and people haven't really got a grasp of that it's missing environmental variables which could be fixed, but I think it's part of a wider problem that the default profile has been corrupted. And so if I go over here, you can see, as I said, it's user, it's default, and we can see that new account is now there. I won't go into that right now, but if we look at the properties and the security of that particular account, let's change that, and we can see that this is the way we'd expect it. So the new account is will have full control over the whole of this, and system administrators, yeah, that's what we expect to see. So let me just take another look at that. Advanced. Oh, that is interesting. The current owner. So this is part of the ACL. The ACL is very complicated on Windows, and generally speaking, unfortunately, I only have Windows 10, and of the people I've checked, they've got corrupt default user profiles as well, and I don't particularly want to reinstall this entire thing, but I'll deal with that in another video because I think it's way too complicated and this video is quite long anyway. Okay, so hopefully if you have that, you'll know that those particular registry entries can be copied and pasted, and you can do a registry edit to allow you to bring those things in. But as I said, I'll do another video about the command line ways of doing it. So till next video, cheers for watching.